fellow bookworms to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and today we have just kind of a combo video for you all. It's been a couple weeks since I've been up to filming or anything like that. It's been a rough couple weeks. So I'm just gonna kind of chat about what's been going on. Then I'm going to be going over my pre-birthday book haul. I say pre-birthday because my birthday is not actually until mid-September, but I wanted to do a haul before then, so I have the whole month of September to just kind of read and grab whatever catches my eye. And so there's some books I've been interested in that I wanted to pick up. And then we're also going to be doing a reading update slash mid-month wrap up, just covering what I have been able to read the last 2 weeks, which, considering what was going on, I didn't do too bad. It was a little bit slower for me, but I still knocked out a lot of reads. So we're going to be chatting about that. Definitely kind of going to be a little bit of a longer video, so definitely grab yourself a drink. I have a iced coffee from Burger King. I actually meant to get one from McDonald's. Obviously I prefer, Starbucks. I go and I get a iced caramel macchiato from there, which we did this weekend when we did our book haul. It was kind of just a refreshing day. Now that I'm feeling a little bit better, we got Starbucks, then we went book shopping, then we went out to lunch, and we stopped and got Nidra some stuff for her birthday, because it is her birthday the day I'm filming this. And so we did all that this weekend. But yeah, I meant out of like what we have in my town, uh, McDonald's is my favorite. So I went there and I meant to get an iced coffee from there, but I was planning on seeing if they could do like a pup cone or a pup cup for Nidra. And so I was so focused on asking that, I totally spaced out ordering an iced coffee. So I wasn't going to drive back around. The next best thing is Burger King's iced coffee. So I went there and got one from there because I was not going to drive back around through McDonald's. But Nidra got to have a little hamburger and some french fries, which she shared with the other dogs. She didn't eat it all by herself. But this weekend we got her, I'll insert pictures, but this little paw cookie thing, which just looked festive and fun. So each of the dogs got one of those. And then we also got her this Dino Toy, which we don't buy these a whole lot, just because they destroy them so quickly, and for the price point it's really not worth it in my mind, but they really do love them. So we got this one, and Nidra and Anya are allowed to play with it for like a half an hour or so at bedtime. Boo Boo's not allowed to touch it because she's Miss Destructo Dog, and I worry about her actually eating like one of the little toys, so she's not allowed to touch it. But the other two get to play briefly at bedtime, and then we put it up because they're also at risk of eating something. And the way this year's been going, I'm like, no, we are not risking anything. Boo Boo's been sick several times this year. Ani was sick. Nidra got hurt. I've had some things going on a couple times this year. My husband had to have a root canal at the beginning of the year. So this year has been a little bit rough. It's been one thing after another. So I guess we'll start with what's been happening the last 2 weeks. So I don't know if you guys saw my like wrap up and then my August TBR, but when I was recording those videos, my jaw was swollen and it hurt, but I couldn't really pinpoint anything. I did have a cut. We had had some shrimp tacos, and the shells just weren't all that great, and it ended up cutting my gum. So I thought that was maybe part of it, but I didn't know what was going on and I couldn't pinpoint it. So I was kind of waiting to see what was happening. Well, once the weekend hit, of course, the weekend, you can't go like do an emergency trip to the dentist. I figured out what was going on. I have a tooth that I had cracked like 4 years ago. It cracked and like a big chunk fell off of it. When they repaired it, our normal dentist, they don't do like any more advanced procedures like root canals or anything like that. So they just did what they could. And when they repaired it, he did warn me that it was almost to the root. The crack was almost to the root. So there was a chance that I might end up needing to have a root canal or it pulled or something like that. But it's been like 2 years, and because I didn't get repaired right away because things, fear, anxiety. So I didn't get repaired right away, but about 2 years ago I did get repaired, and that's when he warned me. And so it's been 2 years, And like I said, I figure it was like, I don't know what's going on, but I think it finally got down to the root, and like I said, it really like hit the weekend. And so I was in so much pain. I was taking my husband's pain medication from when he had his root canal, and it just wasn't touching it. And it would kind of ebb and flow. And there was times like I was just in tears because it was so painful. Like nerve pain is the worst. And this is the first time I've had any issues with my teeth, and so like this is my first time experiencing this. It was a lot. So Monday came, my husband called, got me in, they examined it, and yeah, root canal or extractions. Which obviously root canal would be preferable, really expensive, but we had insurance, we had care credit. So it's like, if we can do it. But they couldn't get me in for 3 weeks. The doctor was gonna be out of town. Like it's a small clinic, like it's a smaller town. So he was going out of town, and then they didn't have any openings for 3 weeks. And I'm like, I cannot do this pain for 3 weeks. The ibuprofen that you're prescribing, I've already been taking because my husband has it, and it's not touching it. Like, I cannot do this. And so she's like, well, we can get you something stronger. And I'm like, I don't do well with pain meds. Like, the ibuprofen is rough enough on me, and it's not even taking care of the pain. Like, I don't want something stronger. So we ended up deciding the extraction was the way to go. One, it was cheaper, so we wouldn't have to be stressing about that. Like even with insurance and the care credit, like it's still a lot, and I'm still paying off my husband's root canal on the care credit. So I'm like yes, we could make it work, but not for having to wait for 3 weeks. So we ended up going with the extraction, and they were able to get me in the next day for the extraction. So we did that. Well, the next day is Tuesday, right? And I wake up and it's kind of hot, but I've been, dealing with this. It's swollen. I'm like, maybe I have a fever. I don't know. And so I didn't really think anything of it. And I moved out to the living room, like took the dogs out and then moved out to the living room. And I fell back asleep, just trying to rest until it's time for, um, or no, this was all Monday. Sorry. So this is all Monday. And so I hadn't even gone in to get my tooth checked yet. But I knew it was coming, so I was just trying to rest and it was painful. So I ended up falling back asleep, wake up, I'm all sweaty and gross, and I'm like, what's going on? Again, didn't really think anything of it. Get in the shower, go to the dentist. Get home from the dentist, my husband and I, he took off early and met me at the dentist as emotional support. Get home and it's hot, the dogs are all panting, and I'm like, looks at the thermostat inside the house, it's like 88 degrees, and I'm like, what the heck? Our AC went out on top of everything going on with my tooth. My husband's calling around. We live in a smaller town, so he's calling the bigger city that's like 40 minutes away where he works and seeing if anybody comes out this way and if they'll come out right away. And it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon at this point. Most places are getting ready to close. And everybody's like, no, no. Finally, he finds a guy who's willing to come out. He has like two other stops. And he ends up coming out 9 o'clock at night and fixes our AC. So bless him. Like, thank you. Like, dealing with the heat on top of this pain, it was just a lot. So we live in southern New Mexico, if you're not aware, temperatures have been over 100 degrees. So get that fixed, then go do my tooth, get it extracted the next day. And they were phenomenal. I did let them know I'm autistic and if they could just walk me through stuff. Luckily, I had my background, in veterinary medicine, working as a tech. And so I would do like teeth cleaning and help the doctor when she was doing the extraction and such. So I was really familiar with the process and a lot of the tools and such because they're all the same. Like the tools are the same. So they had to do the burr and like drill it out. And I was like, she started explaining that. I was like, I am familiar with that. Like we're good there. And they were just phenomenal, like so patient and so calm. Like the doctor was really calm and just constantly talking to me as they were doing the procedure, which I couldn't ask for anything better. And we actually ended up switching, for regular maintenance, like our cleanings and such. We ended up switching to these guys instead of going down to the bigger city like we have been, because they were just absolutely phenomenal. And so yeah, I had really long roots, so you really had to wiggle and get it out of there. And so it did take a little bit longer to heal. Like she's like, be careful for 5 days, explain dry socket and all that. Which of course I'm worst case scenario, so I'm stressing the whole time that I'm gonna get dry socket. Like, not very restful, not able, like, I was just out of it. My poor husband's working and then having to take care of, like, some chores and such at home because I'm just like out of it. He's feeding the dogs for me. Like, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm just laying here and gonna die. But yeah, he was great. And so that was the first 2 weeks of the month dealing with all that and then the healing and everything like that. So it was a bit rough. And so, like I said, I knew, like, now that I'm feeling better, it's like, let's go have kind of a day date. And so we, like I said, hit Starbucks, and then we went and book shopped, and then went and got lunch, and then yesterday, that was Saturday, and yesterday we went and got lunch again at one of our favorite local places, which is really good, kind of expensive, but really, really good. They have like the perfect chicken wings. So we did that, and then we also needed to go to the grocery store because I've been out of it. I haven't been able to go to the grocery store. Grocery store, grocery shopping is really rough on me. Like, it's the thing I struggle with probably the most, and that's one of the jobs Nidra does is she goes grocery shopping with me. Well, when we need dog food, I find it easier just to go on the weekends with my husband. I normally try to avoid the weekends because of the crowds. And any day I go, I normally go early. Well, we were kind of tired from Saturday being out all day. And so we got a late start and then we wanted to go eat first. And so by the time we got to the grocery store, it's like midday. It is packed. It's the weekend. It's just full of people. So we're at the grocery store yesterday, and by the time we get all the stuff we need, we're just both done. Like, we were really low because I haven't been able to go at all. Because it's actually been probably closer to 3 weeks because I was in pain a week beforehand too. Then getting the extraction stuff and then the healing process. So it's been a good chunk of time that I've kind of been behind as far as errands and chores and such. And my husband's been picking up the slack. So anyway, Nidra, my husband, and I, we were all just done. And I don't know, like, tell me if you guys do this. Like, I see people, like, snacking and such on stuff that they're gonna buy. They, like, open it and start eating and such, which I never do that. So we're in line, and I'm, like, dying, and the lines are really long, and I'm just, like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm starting to get overheated, like, so I grabbed some waters. I open the water and I just start drinking it. So I'm like, it's either that, like, I don't like to do this, like, like to wait until it's mine and I pay for it when we get to the car and such. But I'm gonna, like, pass out here. So I open water and I just start drinking it. And my husband and I were talking afterwards, and he doesn't like to do that either. Like, he's like, I've never, like, I find it really awkward. And I'm like, well, me either, but it was that or pass out, and I decided I better just drink the water. And he's like, well, I'm proud of you. And he's like, I was getting pretty thirsty too. And I was like, I offered to share my water so you didn't have to open another one. But he's like, oh, I know. Anyway, so tell me, like, are you one that opens stuff before you actually pay for it? Or are you like me and just like, and my husband and like, no, we're not opening it till it's ours and then we're out of the store. But like I said, I did open it because I was about done, and then I had Nidra do some of her tasks to kind of just calm me down. And we made it through, but it was a long weekend for sure. Even though Saturday was very enjoyable getting to shop for books and such. So that's kind of what's been going on. Like I said, it's been one thing after another this year, and it's not over yet. My mom has to have surgery at the beginning of September. She's been dealing with something, and it's been a while of her going to different doctors and such. Finally got a surgery scheduled, so definitely, if you pray for her. If you don't, just send positive vibes and thoughts and such. But yeah, it's been a year. Life is hard, but at least we have books. So let's go ahead and get into this haul. Like I said, it was kind of a pick me up, kind of a pre-birthday book haul, so I can just spend the month reading these books and really enjoying them. So first we went to Barnes and Noble, which I really don't like going to Barnes and Noble. I prefer to shop secondhand. But there was two books I was kind of interested in. Didn't really want to order them, but I thought we'll go to Barnes and Noble and just see if they happen to have them, and then if they have anything else I'm interested in, I can pick those up as well, like newer releases. So the two books I was interested in was The Book Eaters. I forget the author's name, but of course it'll be right here. I've seen this one a couple times. I know it's just brand new release, and it just sounds interesting to me, like the premise of it and such sounds interesting. So I just wanted to see if they might have it. Of course they didn't. And the other one is You Fooled Death with Your Beauty, which again I'll have right here. Can't remember the author's name. Seen that one pop up a couple times too. And I don't know, that one, the title just really intrigues me. Don't really know much about it. The title intrigues me. So I wanted to pick that one up too. Again, they didn't have it, which is fine. So I was kind of looking around. Um, I knew I wanted to try Kingfisher. That author has been really popular lately. Nettle and Bone and What Moves the Dead have gone on a lot of TBRs this month. And so that as an author, like, just is on my try list. Like, I desperately want to try that author. And they had What Moves the Dead. But that book is so tiny, so short, which is fine. And they were charging like 20 some dollars for it. And I was like, nah. And then reading the synopsis, I was like, like this, I like weird and kind of disturbing vibes, but this seems like a lot for me. And for that price point for such a small book, even though it's my birthday, I just can't justify it. So I was looking to see if they had anything else by T. Kingfisher, and they had one other book, and they had one copy of it, and so I ended up picking that up. And this one sounds right up my alley. So that's The Hollow Places, and I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for you. But it says, newly divorced and living back home in rural North Carolina, Kara is helping out her ailing, eccentric Uncle Earl at his house, which doubles as a tourist hotspot, the Glory to God Museum of Natural Wonders, Curiosities, and Taxidermy. While Kara is closing up one night, she discovers a mysterious hole in the drywall along one of the museum's overstuffed hallways of oddities, an opening that impossibly leads Kara and her new friend Simon to a sprawling area that simply can't be part of North Carolina's plane of existence. As they explore the apparently limitless depths of this bizarre and frightening new world, a hub containing portals to alternate realities, and bear witness to its cryptic warnings, they can hear you thinking and pray they are hungry. Kara and Simon soon realize there is far more danger here than first anticipated, for they have stumbled upon a place of unyielding madness and terror, haunted by abysmal creatures that gather strength from one's innate fear of them. So, this sounds more up my alley than, like I said, What Moves the Dead. I probably would like What Moves the Dead, but like I said, with the price point and such, I was just like, no, I'm gonna hold off. So I picked this one up, and I'm really excited to get to this in September. This will be, like I said, my first time trying this author, and I think it will be a new favorite author for me for sure. So really, really excited about that one. Um, and then other books I was kind of looking at. Excuse if that shook, boo boo, hit the table. Um, but the other one I was looking at was Her Majesty's Royal Coven. That's another one that's been popping up a lot here on BookTube, and I've really been interested in. But reading the actual synopsis of the book, it wasn't quite as intriguing to me as when I've seen it pop up on BookTube and just people's general description of it. So I was like, I don't think so. And they only have the paperback copy, which I love the art for the hardback. It's like that pink and yellow. I'll insert it here. I like that copy. I like that version of the book. But they had the paperback, which is just like black with like a little thing on it. And I just wasn't like, I was more interested in the cover of the other one, and the synopsis and such wasn't quite as intriguing to me. And so if they had the hardcover, I might have picked it up anyway. But since they didn't, I was just like, no. But I had it in my hands and was kind of walking around deciding if I wanted to pick it up or not. And when I went to go put it back, I had missed this initially, but then I saw it and I was like, yes, I want that. I've seen it a couple times here on BookTube, and that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. And this one, he said, I've seen it a couple times, not a whole lot, but the couple times I've seen it, like, one, it sounds right up my alley, and I have seen a few reviews on it, and it just sounds perfect. It's like Regency era meets fairies. it just sounds like such a good read. So it says, ever since she was cursed by a fairy, Theodora Eddings has had no sense of fear or embarrassment, an unfortunate condition that leaves her prone to accidental scandal. Dora hopes to be a quiet, sensible wallflower during the London season, but when Elias Wilder, the handsome, peculiar, and utterly ill-mannered Lord Sorcier, discovers her condition, she is instead drawn into dangerous fairy affairs. If her reputation can survive both her curse and her sudden connection with the least liked man in all high society, then she and her family may yet reclaim their normal place in the world. But the longer Dora spends with Elias, the more she begins to suspect that one may indeed fall in love, even with only half a soul. So, this sounds perfect. I seriously think I'm going to love this. And expect this to definitely be a 5-star read. It looks like it's going to be part of a series because it says one Regency fairy tales. So, really, really excited for this. And then I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for more because I have no doubt I'm going to love this. So, okay, so next up is one I was definitely interested in picking up. I read the first one a couple months ago, and that is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. This one, again, one that just piqued my interest based off BookTube, and I thought I would really enjoy it. It sounded like fun and quirky. And so I had picked this up and I had read it and really enjoyed it. It does read like a cozy mystery, which typically isn't my thing, but love this one. And this is by Elle Cosimano. And so the second one was sitting there staring at me. There was only one copy left again, and that is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. So I went ahead and picked this up. So basically, the premise is you have Finlay Donovan, and she is a single mother really struggling to get by. And so in the first book, she's at a Panera talking to her agent about the plot of her next book because she's a writer. And somebody overhears her talking about the plot of her next book and thinks she's a killer for hire and slips her a note. At the end of the first one, she gets another note, and so I think that's where this one's going to take off from. And so I'm really excited to give this one a try because I enjoyed the first one so much. Even though typically it wouldn't be my thing, like it was definitely a good, light, fun-hearted read that I really enjoyed. So now I have the second one, and there is a third one, I believe. I believe coming out soon. I'm not sure if it's out already. I don't think so. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one as well. So we have that one. And then I've been interested in getting into manga. I've never read manga. I've never been interested in it or like graphic novels or anything like that. It just doesn't hold any appeal to me. But watching BookTube, like I've been getting more interested. And I was specifically interested in getting Spy Family because that one just sounds so adorable to me. They did have Spy Family, but they only had like later volumes, and I obviously want to start at the beginning. So I wasn't able to get that. And so I was kind of looking around to see what else. And this one that I got caught my eye because I've seen it here on BookTube. And honestly, the premise sounds really interesting. And so that is Death Note. This is Black Edition, which has volumes 1 and 2 in it. And it sounds interesting. So I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for you. I can't pronounce the author and the artist name, so I'll just hold it up here for you because I'm not even going to try. And so it says Light Yagami is an ace student with great prospects, and he's bored out of his mind. But all that changes when he finds the Death Note, a notebook dropped by a rogue Shinigami death god. Any human whose name is written in the notebook dies, and now Light has vowed to use the power of the Death Note to rid the world of evil. Will Light's noble goal succeed, or will the Death Note turn him into the very thing he fights against? And like I said, it has volumes 1 and 2. So I'm really excited to give this a try. And when I was looking, I was like telling my husband, like, I'm not really sure what to get. Like, I don't know where to start, in trying manga. And when I picked this one up and I was telling him about it, he's like, yeah, that seems like one you would enjoy, a notebook where you can just write a name and the person dies. It's like, yeah, thanks. So I'm excited to try this. They did have the Black Edition 2, which has volumes 3 and 4. So if I enjoy this, I'll probably have my husband stop in and pick up that second volume or second edition, which has the volumes 3 and 4. So really, really excited this. If you've read this manga, definitely let me know what you think about it. But I've seen it here on BookTube and it sounds really interesting to me. So that is the next one I got. The last two I got from Barnes& and Noble I was not planning on picking up, but my husband was kind of maybe interested in picking up the game Munchkin. And so we were kind of over there looking at it, and then when we were walking back, I saw these, and there was only one copy left of the first one in this series, and that is Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. So I was able to pick that, and then on our way to the front, like where the new stuff is Daughter of the Siren Queen, which is the second one. So ended up getting both of these, and this is another one that just sounded really interesting. I've seen it here on BookTube. Um, I can't remember which channel did it, but they did like different pirate books that you should read, and this was on that list. And so, really, really excited to have it. I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for the first one, not the second one, just in case there's spoilers. But it says, set on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, the key to a legendary treasure trove, 17-year-old pirate captain Alosa deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies, giving her the perfect opportunities to search for their ship. More than a match for the ruthless pirate crew, Alosa has only one thing standing between her and the map, her captor, the unexpectedly clever and unfairly attractive first mate Ridden. But not to worry, for Alosa has a few tricks up her sleeve, and no lone pirate can stop the daughter of the Pirate King. So, this just, I mean, seems right up my alley. I love a good pirate story, so I'm hoping this will be something I really, really enjoy. So those are the 6 books I got from Barnes and Noble. Then we went and hit the little local independent bookstore. We were going to go to the main one that's a lot bigger, but there was something happening on the main street and they had it all closed. And so it was just going to be difficult to try to get to that store. So we went to this other one, which I actually prefer because they have, while they're not as big, like they have bigger like author sections, so like the Nora Roberts section's a lot bigger. And so there's some authors, some books rather, series authors, whatever, that I'm trying to collect, and then others that I got just because I was interested in them. So we'll start with the ones that I got just because I was interested in them. So the first one I came across was Sabriel by Garth Nix, and I think this is like the Old Kingdom series, which I've heard it brought up a couple times. The main one that got me interested in the series is Emily Jean Blatt. I'll link her channel down below. She's talked about this, how it's one of her favorite series of all time. And so it was definitely one I was interested in picking up. And so when I came across it, I was like, yes, I'm picking that up. So I got the first one in the series, going to give it a try. And I'm really, really excited to try this. So that's the first one I got from the um, bookstore. And then the next one I got is, I read Chasing Sunsets by Kingsbury for my ABC Author Challenge. My grandma kind of encouraged me to pick it up, which is the second one in the Angels Walking series. I really, really enjoyed that one. The first one follows a different couple, so I wasn't as interested in picking up the first one in the series, but there was a third one in that series that follows the same couple from Chasing Sunsets. So I decided to pick it up because I came across it, and that's Brush of Wings. And again, that's by Karen Kingsbury. And so I'm really excited for this one. Basically, the premise, you have, I forget their name, Mary Catherine, and Marcus, who is a baseball player. And in the first one, you have these angels, it's the angels walking. So these angels get sent down and they're trying to encourage certain things and protect people from evil that might alter the course of their lives. And so in the first one, it's the angels walking. And I didn't so much like Mary Catherine and Marcus. I like the angels more so. But either way, I still kind of want to see how their story plays out. And so this is following, their story, because Mary Catherine ends up going off to, I think, Africa or somewhere, um, and so Uganda, so to work at a new orphanage. So that's where it's taking off from. She's headed that way. So really excited to read this one and just see how that story plays out. And I'm hoping we see more of the angels and get to know them a little bit better as well. So that's the next one I picked up. And then I'm also interested in getting more into poetry. So my weakest genres, like manga and graphic novels and such, are non-existent in my world. I've never read them, so definitely want to get into those, which is why I picked up Death Note. But poetry is also something that I just don't really gravitate towards. I don't read a whole lot of. And so we kind of went to the poetry section and I saw this one and I was like, perfect. Like it's kind of illustrated, and it just seems right right up my alley. And so that's Edgar Allan Poe's Tales of Mystery and Madness, and it's illustrated by Chris Grimley. So, I mean, the cover looks a lot of fun, and then you can see, inside you have illustrations and whatnot. So, I don't know if these are like fully poems or what? So it says, prepare yourself. You're about to enter a world where you'll be shocked, terrified, and though you'll be too scared to admit it at first, secretly thrilled. Here are four tales: the Black Cat, a Masqué of the Red Death, the Masqué of the Red Death, Hot Frog, and the Fall of the House of Usher. By the master of the macabre, Edgar Allan Poe. The original tales have been ever so slightly dismembered, but of course Poe understood dismemberment very well, and he would shriek in ghoulish delight at Chris Grimley's gruesomely delectable illustrations that adorn every page. So prepare yourself and keep the lights on. So it looks like more tales than actual poetry, but it was in the poetry section, which it makes sense that I would pick this one up because it's more like little tales and um an illustrated book. But a sweet little cat drives a man to insanity and murder. Sorry, I can't read. The grim death known as the plague roams a masquerade ball dressed in red. A dwarf seeks his final revenge on his captor. A sister calls to her beloved twin from beyond the grave. So not poetry, but it's a start in that direction. It was in that section, and I think I'll really enjoy this one. So that is that one. Next, now that I'm done with my Nora Roberts um, collection, I'm working on Irish Johansen. That is another author that I really enjoy, like kind of in my teens and early 20s and such. I've read several of her books, some from the library, some I bought myself. And so she's an author that I'm really interested in continuing to collect her works and her backlists and such. I recently picked up and I read this month because Nidra chose it for me, her newest release, A Face to Die For, which I'll talk about in a second when I get into kind of the wrap up portion of this video. So I'm trying to collect more of her works. So she has a couple of series. She has the Catherine Ling series, the Kendra Michael series, which she has written with her son. And then, of course, her Eve Duncan series, which I have several of the Eve Duncan, several of the standalones, and I had two of the Catherine Ling and two of the Kendra Michaels. Um, and so I had my list of books I still needed. I had taken like a picture and brought it with me so I could see. And I ended up getting some of the Catherine Ling and some of the Kendra Michaels. I left it at that. I didn't get any more of the Eve Duncan novels. And some of these cross over, like some of the Catherine Ling cross over with um, the Eve Duncan novels and such. So there are crossovers and whatnot. But we'll go ahead and start with the Catherine Ling. So I had Chasing the Night and What Doesn't Kill You, which is book 1 and 2 in the series. And I believe Eve is in this first one. So again, it kind of crosses over. So I had those first two, and I ended up getting two more, and there's only one more after that, which again kind of crosses over with Eve Duncan. So the next two I have is Live to See Tomorrow and Your Next Breath. So I was able to pick up these next two So this is book 3 and this is book 4. And then the 5th one in the series and the final one so far is called Vendetta, but they did not have that one. So um I'll just have to keep an eye out for that because that will at least complete the series to date. So I'll definitely try to pick that one up sometime soon, but we'll see when I'm able to do that. As far as the Kendra Michaels series, I had Close Your Eyes, which is book 1. Then there's 2 little like novellas that go along with it, which is with Open Eyes and Sleep No More. They didn't have those, I didn't get them, but these actual second one in the series is Sight Unseen, which again I already had. So I did have that one. And so then I picked up the third one in the series is called The Naked Eye. And again, she wrote these with her son Roy Johansen, which I really like them, together. I've read several that she's co-authored with her son. And then we have Night Watch, which is book 4 in the series, so I got that one. The next one, book 5, they did not have, and that's called Look Behind You. They didn't have it, so I'm still going to need to pick that one up. But they did have book 6, which is Double Blind, so I got that one. They had book 7, which is Hindsight, so I was able to pick up that one. Then there's 2 more in that series, which is Blink of an Eye and Killer View, which they did not have. So those are the books I got by Iris Johansen, and like I said, some of them were co-authored with Roy Johansen. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for more, like obviously completing these series. I'll probably work on those first, and then I'll go back to the Eve Duncan series and the standalones. Because Eve Duncan, I'm missing like the first couple, and then I have several, and then I'm missing like a lot of the newest ones. But the Face to Die For is the newest one of the Eve Duncan series, and then there's Captive, I think it's called, is coming out in September, which is another one of the Eve Duncan series. So, that's one again. I'm just gonna kind of go back and start building up again. Luckily, especially with the Eve Duncan series, you can kind of read them, um, as standalones. I will say, like, I'll talk about more when I get to the wrap up, but A Face to Die For, I did feel like I was missing out a little bit because a lot had happened since I had read, the series last. So I did feel a little bit like I was missing out, but not too bad. She does a really good job of making it so you can kind of read them as standalones if you haven't picked it up before or anything like that. So those are the Iris Johansen books. Next, let me see here. I got some that I'm working on for kind of my Throwback Thursday / Kid Corners. So I've been working on picking up the Dear America series, and this independent one has a lot of them. And so I kind of have a list of the ones I still need to get. And so I was able to pick up Survival in the Storm. This is unfortunately a paperback. I really like the hardcovers with the little book ribbon in it, but they had this one, so I went ahead and picked it up. This is The Dust Bowl Diary of Grace Edwards, Dallas, Texas, 1935. This is one of the newer ones, and this one was written by Caitlin Janke. Right there. So I have this one. I didn't realize that at the time because they have like some of the other like spin-offs, and one, it was called Down the Rabbit Hole, which is one of the really newer ones. And so I didn't think it was part of the series. They did have it, and then when I was kind of organizing and figuring out what I had and what I still needed to get, I realized that that is actually part of this main Dear America series. So I'm kind of kicking myself for not picking that one up, but at least I got one more to add to that group of books. Next, I'm working on the Boxcar Children books, which um, there's a lot of those. There's like, let me see, I wrote down 161 total to date of the main series, and again, they have some spin-offs. And so I actually already had these ones, which I had this one, number 34, The Mystery Horse, from my childhood. I had gotten rid of the other ones, which I'm kicking myself for, because I used to get these like every month. And so I had this one, I kept it because it was about a horse. But this one I already had. So I decided I wanted to start collecting these again. I read that when I was kind of reading all the horse books I had. And I said, the Boxcar Children are ones I really enjoyed as a kid. I want to recollect them. So I've been keeping an eye out. And so I got the first four again at the little store I had, the independent bookstore. I found these ones. So you have, of course, the first one, which is just the Boxcar Children. And then you have Surprise Island is book 2. And these are by Gertrude Chandler Warner, in case you're interested. Book 3 is The Yellow House Mystery. Book 4 is Mystery Ranch. And then I had found one of the special editions, which is Mystery on the Ice. And this is book 1 in the special edition. And there's 21 of these. So I ended up finding one more special edition, which is number 8. And that is the Niagara Falls mystery. So these are the ones now that I picked up this round. The other ones I picked up previous haul. And so so I got another special edition, and then they had several more. So I had the first 4, so I picked up number 5, which is Mike's Mystery, which I'm really excited for that one. They did not have number 6, but I ended up doing a thrift book order. Even though the last experience I had with them was kind of rough, I decided to give them another chance. So I ended up ordering number 6, which is Blue Bay Mystery. I'll insert a picture here. Those haven't come yet. I just ordered them, but I wanted to include them here because they kind of tie in. So number 6, Blue Bay Mystery. But at the little bookstore, they did have number 7, which is the Woodshed Mystery. Then we got number 8, which is the Lighthouse Mystery. Number 12, which is that's number 8. So then we skip to number 12. So from 5th books, I got number 9, which I'll again start here. This is Mountaintop Mystery. I got number 10, which is Schoolhouse Mystery. And I got number 11, which is the Caboose Mystery. And then at the store, I got Houseboat Mystery. So I have that one. That's number 12. Number 13 is Snowbound Mystery. And this one made me mad because they put a sticker on the inside on the paper. I obviously pulled it off, but it damaged the paper. And I'm like, who in their right mind would put a sticker on paper? Like, on the cover is bad enough because you have to try to peel it off. But on the paper, like what? Like, who would do that? I don't understand. And that's not the first time I've had a book come with a sticker on the paper. And it just makes me so angry. So anyway, that's number 13. It's a little bit damaged, but the book itself is intact. Perfectly happy. Then I got number 14, which is the Treehouse Mystery. And I got number 15, which is the Bicycle Mystery. So that's where I ended it for this specific haul. Like I said, there's 161. It's going to take me a while to collect all these books. And obviously, I need to space that out, not spend a whole big chunk of money all at once. So I got the first 15 in the series plus book number 34, which is from my childhood. And then I have the 2 special editions. So that's the Boxcar Children. And that is it for the little independent bookstore, used bookstore that we went to. So in addition to ordering the gaps in my list for the Boxcar Children from Thrift Books, I was particularly interested in getting the rest of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I read the first one, Cinder, like a couple months ago, and I've heard mixed things about this. Some people love it, some people don't. I was one that really, really loved this. So I got in this one when I got my last Nora Roberts book, the kind of rare one that's more expensive. The seller was really great, worked with me, and so I picked this one up from their shop because it was one I was interested in trying, and I just wanted to get a couple more books because they were so willing to work with me and whatnot. So this is where I got this one. Ended up loving it. Haven't been able to stop thinking about the series since. And they didn't have anything by this author at the little independent bookstore. At Barnes & Noble, they only had this first one, Cinder. They didn't have any of the other ones, and they had the ones with the different cover, which I really wasn't interested in. I like these covers. So at Thrift Books, I ended up getting the rest. So first, of course, the next one in the series is Scarlet. Again, I'll insert it here. So I got Scarlet, which is book 2. Then I got Cress, which again here, that's book 3. Then I went ahead and ordered Ferris, which is Levin's story. So it's not like an official part of the series, but it's just like a little novella that goes with the series. So I got that. Then I got book 4, which is called Winter, and then another little Lunar Chronicles collection, which is called Stars Above. And so I got that one as well. Looking like on Goodreads, there's several others that kind of tie in. There's like 6 extra books. There's Glitches, which is kind of a prequel to Cinder. I didn't get any of those. You have Glitches, you have the little android, which is like based on the Little Mermaid, and then the Queen's Army, which is Wolf's story from Scarlet. It's his story, so it's kind of a prequel to Scarlet. And then you have Carswell's Guide to Being Lucky, which is one of the characters in the series, I guess. I haven't been introduced to him yet. You have COVID 128, which is reading it, it's basically what these characters would be doing if they had to quarantine and such, what they would be doing. And then you have Cinder's Adventure, Get Me to the Wedding. And then there's like a coloring book such. I didn't get any of those. So, but I did get, like I said, Ferris and Stars Above, which kind of tie into the series, and then the main series itself, which is the 4 books. So really, really excited for when those get here. Those are ones I'm probably just gonna binge read most likely, because I'm really, really excited for them. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed Cinder, so I can't wait to get my hands on those. I try to get the ones with the artwork that is like this. I had to get a couple of hardcovers because that's what it was, but I don't care as long as the artwork's like this. And then the Boxcar Children, I tried to make sure it was the Scholastic editions, so the artwork would be the same, because they obviously have re-released them in a different style, but I want the ones like this. So hopefully Thrift Books sends the right ones, because I'm not really interested in the other ones. Like, for these ones specifically, I want the nostalgic Scholastic ink books. Like, that's specifically what I'm looking for. So that is the haul. Now we're gonna kind of go into the wrap up. So first, I want to mention this was actually the last one from July that I read. I did read it the last weekend. And so it's actually technically July, but when I did my wrap up, I hadn't read it yet. I just knew I was going to get to it. And I will be doing a video. I actually did discussion questions on this. And so this is Where the Crawdad Sings by Delia Owens. The movie just came out in July, July 15th. I have not seen the movie yet. I did read the book, obviously, and I did discussion questions. So there will be a video talking about this, but I will say overall, I really, really did enjoy this. So definitely keep an eye out. The discussion questions and my thoughts on this will be out soon. This is, like I said, not technically part of the August mid-month wrap up, but I did just want to bring it up because I hadn't read it when I did my July wrap up. So the first week in August, like I said, I was in pain, but I didn't know what was going on at that point. It wasn't until that weekend. But the first books I ended up reading were the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han. I binge watched this show the beginning of July and absolutely loved it. So I ordered these right away. It did take a little bit to come in. This is actually a box set that I got from Amazon. I love the artwork for this one much better than like the other artwork, which is based on the show and such. This is the artwork that I particularly wanted, and it came in a little box set. So you have The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. The first one is by far the best one for sure. I really, really enjoyed the first one. The second two I enjoyed maybe not quite as much as the first one. Belly is a little bit toxic, and some of her choices and such is like really um and I did not like her with one of the brothers. I'm not gonna say Hugh because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But one of the brothers I just did not like her with. Honestly, I had my issues with her relationship with both of the brothers, but one of them I obviously preferred over the others, and I will or the other rather. And I will say that why I didn't really enjoy like the last two books, I did kind of like how the series ended. It felt good. Um and so I was okay with how the series ended, but I definitely preferred the show. With the show, you get a lot more of the moms, because it's Belly's mom, and so it's Belly, her mom, and her brother, and every summer they go to her mom's best friend's beach house, and her mom's best friend has two boys, Conrad and Jeremiah. So Belly's always been in love with Conrad, but the summer she turns pretty, she's older now. She's hoping maybe Conrad will now take interest in her, but then she learns Jeremiah also has interest in her. So that's kind of the premise. Definitely a love triangle between the two brothers and her. But Summer I Turned Pretty was really, really good. And then in the second one, you have her just there's kind of like all this tension and such, and just trying to figure out where things stand. And then the last one, like I said, is kind of really kind of toxic. But how it ends, like I did not like it, but how it actually ended, I was like, that felt good. Like if it had ended on a different note, I definitely would have been angry with it. Um, so yeah, I think let me have my notes here. So for those ones, the first one and the second one were similar as far as rating. They both got they all got 4 stars, but the first two are a little bit higher. Like I said, the first one is definitely the best one. And then the third one I just found really, really toxic. And so like I said, it was a little bit lower, but still ended up in the 4 stars. Mainly because the characters, the atmosphere and such really held it, even though I was really mad at Belly and like the toxic relationship and such. But they all got 4 stars. Where the Crawdad scene actually got 5 stars. I'll just mention that now. Then next up, so I read those that week. I was in pain. I didn't really know what was going on. Then after I got my tooth taken care of and such, I read the Southern Witch series, which is by Kimberly Frost. So I had 3 of these. I don't know how many more there are, but I know there's more in the series. So first one is Would Bewitched, then you have Barely Bewitched, and you have Halfway Hex. And Halfway Hex is the one that my sister-in-law actually picked this one out for my 25 days of Bookmas. And so I got the first 2 in the series just so I could start at the beginning. And these ones I loved so much. Like absolutely perfect while I was healing, and just what I needed. I did kind of struggle because I was in pain, and so I would read like short bits. These normally I would fly through really quickly. I think it took me like the whole week to read them. So really, really enjoyed these. These ones you basically have Tammy Jo Trask, and they're in Texas, but she comes from a family of witches, but she's never had any power. Like her mom and her aunt try to teach her, and they just had no success. Well, her mom and her aunt are gone, and so it's just her, and she ends up kind of coming into her powers a little bit, but it's just everything malfunctions. Like every time she does something, it does not turn out how it should turn out. And there's her family ghost, Edith. And then there's Bryn Lyons, who is another witch. But Edith's twin sister used to have premonitions, and there was like a list of people they were not to associate with, and Lyons is on that list. So she's not supposed to associate with Bryn Lyons, but she's having all these issues, and he's the only one that she can really turn to. Fraulein, sorry, Fraulein's trying to get books knocked down. So anyway, Bryn Lyon's the only one that she can actually turn to, even though she's not supposed to, because he's the only one with magical powers that can help her. And so it starts off, there's this robbery and there's like this crime spree in the first book. And so that's kind of how she ends up, because her family ghost gets stolen and she needs to get her back before I think the 24th of October. Otherwise she's at risk of losing the family ghost forever. And something happened previously and it was horrible, and so she's like, I need to get this back. And that's kind of what pushes her to try magic, and it just all goes wrong. And so that's kind of the theme of all the books, and it's just fun. It's kind of like cozy mystery vibes. The first one and the second one had more mystery vibes than the third one rather than the first and third had more mystery vibes than the second one. The second one though did have a mystery. It just, you didn't feel it, like you didn't think there was this mystery to it until she discovers the mystery, if that makes sense. So in the first one, she's actively trying to solve something, and in the third one too, she's trying to figure something out. Where in the second one, it's like it's just chaos. And she's just trying to fix things, and so you don't realize there's a mystery until she kind of figures it out, if that makes sense. But just such a good time. It's like a cozy mystery with supernatural vibes, and it's just quirky and it's just fun. And I just really, really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to be continuing this series, like probably not right away, but if I ever come across any more books, and once I kind of get through like my Irish Johansen collection, collecting those, this is one I could see myself, okay, like I need to pick up more of these books. Absolutely loved it. These ones, the first one got 5 stars. The second one I didn't enjoy quite as much. It was just kind of hectic and weird. And that one got 4 stars. But the third one did get 5 stars as well. So really, really enjoyed all of those. Thought they were fantastic and just what I needed while I was healing from my mouth. The next two are books I didn't actually read. I ended up not officially DNFing. I think people call it a soft DNF, which basically means I'm not reading them right now. I'm going to come back to them at some point. And that is West of Eden. And then I also had Winter in Eden, which is the second one. This is by Harry Harrison. There is a third one called Return to Eden. I did try to see if they had it at the little bookstore, the used bookstore. They didn't. So they had Winter in Eden, but they didn't have Return to Eden. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes out for that. And when I get ready to actually read these, I'm going to pick it up so I can just binge read. But this is kind of dense and complex. So I decided it was really hard. It was really hard for me because I was enjoying it so much. I think I read the first 3 chapters and I was really enjoying it. And I knew, like, in the first chapter that this is going to take some time. And so I should probably hold off on them until a later date when I have more brain power I can really devote to them. But I was enjoying them so much, so I kept reading a few more chapters, and then I decided, no, I need to hold off. So this one, you have Carrick, and he's a young hunter, and in this world, the dinosaurs never went extinct. And so they kind of evolved, and they're intelligent life as well. And so you have these dinosaurs which kind of rule the world, and then these humans. And really, really interested in these, like the premises of dinosaurs. The dinosaurs weren't the dinosaurs I know and love, though. Like, I was looking for, like, a T Rex or a raptor to have evolved, but they have different names and such, and so it wasn't the dinosaurs I know and love, and so it's very complex, like world and world building. And you gotta learn these dinosaurs and such, but it's so interesting. Like the first chapter was Carrick, and so they live in the north where the dinosaurs don't live because they're cold blooded, right? So they live in the north, but the winters have been really, really hard, and so the hunting hasn't been as good. So they end up moving down south. These hunters start going south, and then they come across like these dinosaurs, which are called a different name. And so think they're monsters and kill them. And so then you have, I forget her name, but you have, she's basically going to be in charge of this new city because something's happening with the dinosaurs world too. And so I think maybe the Ice Age as well. But anyway, so she goes to this new city and there's birthing grounds, and in this one, the male dinosaurs protect the eggs and then give birth to the young. And so there's this birthing ground. Well, that's where the hunters were, and they killed like these males, which are helpless, and all the guards. And so she comes across them, but it's really cool because they're like riding in a fish, so it's a live fish, but it's also like a submarine. I really didn't know what was happening there. Like, it just was too much for my mind, like too big brain for me. But anyway, that was all in the first 3 chapters. So she's going to the city and she comes across. And so Carrick was just in the first one, and then it was this dinosaur who's this leader. And yeah, really, really interesting, the first 3 chapters. But like I said, very, very big brain, too much for me right now. So I'm going to be holding off on these. So those were the next two, not reading Softy and F. We'll come back to those. Next up, I read Never Cry Wolf by Farley Mowat, which I've been wanting to read for 2 months now, and finally got to this one. Y'all, this is everything I wanted. I like nature, conservation, like vibes in my book. And I read The Origin by Irving Stone, which was about Charles Darwin. Loved the first half, which was when he was exploring and such. And I read Life, Love, and Elephants by Dame Daphne Sheldrake, which I loved. This one is a little bit shorter, not as dense as those two, which was fantastic. And it was written by him and his experience going up to the Arctic and um, observing these wolves and such. So originally there is like a little preface which he wrote in 1993. The original works was published in 1963. So he wrote this in 1993, and so I did read that, and he originally intended to cast the wolf in a rather minor role. My original plan was to write a satire about quite a different beast, the peculiar mutation of the human species known as a bureaucrat, who has become the dictatorial arbiter of all our affairs. I also thought it might be fun to take a Mickey out of the new high priest of our time, the scientists, who now consider themselves the only legitimate interpreters of truth. But then he basically goes on to say that as he was writing the book, it kind of changed from that and became more about the wolves. And just, there's like a subtle humor to this that was so much fun. Like, he really does kind of poke fun, like the foils and such, and the follies of like the government and what the science community believed. And so basically, it kind of made me mad. We were also watching some episodes from Shark Week while I was reading this, and it's like, humans make me so mad sometimes because we just think we're above it all. And so basically, in this one, he's sent to go observe and research these wolves because the hunters are noticing a decrease in the numbers of caribou, and they're blaming it on the wolves. So he's sent to obtain proof that the wolves directly affect the number of caribou, right? So as he's studying, though, he realizes that no, it's not the wolves at all. It's the hunters that are decimating the number of caribous. But of course, you know, the government and the science community doesn't want to hear that because the hunters have money and want the caribou, right? So it's really like, it's just, he kind of laughs because like when he's going, you know, he having trouble to find a plane, and he's like has his mission, and so he can't get a plane to go out to the wolves, and so he's you know sending messages back to the government, and they're like, figure it out on your own, don't contact us unless it's emergency, and make sure it's less than 10 words if you do contact us. What? And so yeah, he sent, and then he kind of gets lost, like he's like radio silence, and he gets like one message out, and it ends up getting routed like through, I don't even remember where, like through South America, like Tierra del Fuego. So they're like, well, why is he down there? Like, it's just like chaos, and I'm here for it. And just like the humor in this book, and then he's like talking about his interaction with the wolves, and like at one point he's going to the bathroom and he doesn't realize the wolf is watching him, and so he's going to the bathroom and he turns around and there's this wolf, and he's like, why are you watching me? And he, like, until he freaks out on the wolf. It's just, it's a good time. Like, I strongly, especially, if you're not as into this is a fun read. So if you're not as into like the nature and the conservationist vibes, especially like the thicker, because like the origin and um, love, life, and elephants, those were dense and thick. Where this one was just a fun read while still honoring that vibe. So really, really enjoyable. I think I gave this one 5 stars. Yes, I did. Um, Absolutely love this. Like, this was amazing. So definitely encourage you to pick this one up. I'm definitely going to be picking up a lot more from this author as I come across it. Um, Written a lot of titles. Like, there's a lot to read by this author. So I mean, you can see the big old long list there. So definitely, definitely worth a read for sure. But yeah. So next I read was the newest Irish Johansen one, A Face to Die For. Again, this is an Eve Duncan novel. And then this one, you have Riley. She's an archaeologist, and she's looking for um, Helen of Troy, basically. And she thinks she has found her skeleton and whatnot, her tomb, and she enlists Eve because Eve's a forensic sculptor, so she enlists her for her help. And then you have also Morgan Cade, who helps him as well. He's basically has a lot of money. He does like protects wildlife and such, but he also has history like in the military and whatnot. So he's enlisted to kind of help. He's also an archaeologist, so he has an interest in the tomb itself as well. And like I said, this one I did kind of feel I was missing a little bit because since the last time I've read an Eve Duncan novel, like things have changed as far as her family goes. There's kind of a storyline that takes place in this that ties in that I think might have started in another book. And so it was a little bit of um, a minute to kind of get into it because I was like, what's happening? Like, what have I missed? But like I said, a lot of the Eve Duncan novels, they're done so you can read them by itself without having to have read the other ones. She explains enough so you know what's happening, and the main plot line is separate from like the Eve Duncan plot line. So that was the case of this one. She does kind of explain so you know a basic thing of what's happening. But I do kind of wish I had read the previous ones before I got to this one. But I really, really enjoy this one. I will say it wasn't as good as some of her other stuff. It's been years since I've read her, but I remember really enjoying her work. Her stories are really fast paced, really action packed, and this one wasn't. Like, the threat was just kind of there, but it wasn't as action packed as I've come to expect from her work. And honestly, the conversation between Riley and some of the other characters was a little bit weird, especially between her and Morgan Cade. And Morgan Cade, his conversation with some of the other characters was kind of stilted and just a little bit awkward and weird. And I don't know if that was done on purpose or not. And I don't know how much, like, is her other books like that? Because I don't remember them being like that. Like, I remember really enjoying, but like I said, it's been years since I've read her. But again, still very fast paced, really easy to read, and really enjoyable. I like the premise, I think, more than how it was actually done. I did end up giving it 4 stars though. So overall, really, really good. Has everything that I love about Irish Johansen's writing, but it's just a little awkward. I didn't feel very connected to the main two characters of Riley and Morgan Cade, and their chemistry was a little bit awkward just because, like I said, the conversations were weird and didn't always make sense and didn't really flow for me. Um, Other than that, the plot, like finding Helen of Troy and such, and then restoring her and whatnot, was really, really enjoyable. So, really did enjoy this, though I'm excited to read some of her older stuff again. Um, and figure out, if this one was just a little weird for me because of the characters, or if that is actually how her writing is and I just didn't notice it when I was younger, or what. So that was the latest book I read. Then I have two books I'm currently working on. The first one I'm reading by myself, that is Night Work, of course, by Nora Roberts. And this one, I have 1/3 of the book to go. So I have this last third to go. I will finish this today, no doubt. And so this one, you have Harry, and I will say, big trigger warning for cancer and loss. It starts right off the bat with that. Harry becomes a thief when he's 9 years old because his mom has cancer and they're struggling to pay the bills. So he starts his night work in order to earn money. He starts kind of like pickpocketing, and then he moves on to like houses. His mom and his aunt have like a cleaning business for like wealthy people, and so that's kind of how he gets some information, and that's how he starts, stealing like actual things from houses. Um, and so it starts off, with Harry losing his mom being sick, and then him losing his mom. And then as he grows, he continues his night work. But there's also this really wealthy man that he kind of falls into a job for from another thief, because that thief is older and injured, and so he has to contract out to Harry because if he doesn't get the job done, he's basically, this man doesn't care. He doesn't take into account personal injury or anything like that. The job's the job. Like, you figure it out or you're, gonna be in trouble, essentially. So he contracts out to Harry. Well, the job goes really, really well, and this wealthy man wants to meet Harry, because he's interested, in having Harry work for him now. So anyway, this man's dangerous, and he doesn't like Harry because Harry basically tells him to go F himself. And so that affects Harry's life, and he basically has to disappear. His love interest is Miranda, and it's dangerous for him to be with her, so he kind of leaves her very cruelly. Um, and so then later on, obviously, they reconnect because that's her main love interest, so it's kind of like a second chance romance as well. And that's kind of where I am at this point in the story of them reconnecting. But so far, really good. Like I said, I've stayed up late reading this book 2 nights in a row. And so I'll get the third portion finished tonight, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out. The other one I'm reading, I just started it because I couldn't read aloud with my tooth and everything. It's finally healed enough that it's not irritating to read aloud. And that is The Awakening, which is book 1 in the Dragonheart Legacy, again by Nora Roberts. The third one in this trilogy comes out in November, and my husband and I decided to read this together. We read the last one, which is the Chronicles of the One. We read that trilogy together, and so we wanted to read this one together as well. But he likes to have, and I do too, like just have all of them so we could just binge read them. Everything's fresh in your mind. So we've been holding off on this. And so now that's almost time for the third book to come out. It's time to read these. So we've started it. I'm about halfway through the first third of the book. Definitely kind of slow starting, but now she's in Ireland, and so hopefully it'll pick up. But basically, you have Breen, and she's really like struggling, pinching pennies, trying to pay off her student debt. She's a teacher, which interestingly enough, you have Breen here, who is a teacher that doesn't like her job, and then Harry ends up becoming a teacher, and it's something he really, really enjoys doing. But I just find it interesting that you have the teachers when these are, her newest trilogy and then her newest work. But anyway, so Breen's struggling and pinching pennies and trying to pay off her student debt, and just in a job she doesn't enjoy. Well, she learns that her mother has been keeping the almost $4 million from her. Her father, when he left her and her mother, started transferring money to her each month, and so she has almost $4 million that her mother has never told her about. Her mother's the one that pushed her into teaching and everything like that. She finds out about this, and she's always had like these strange, vivid dreams, and now she has this silver-haired man that's like following her, and she keeps hearing, come home, it's time to come home, and she's hearing these voices in her head and such. Well, she finds this $4 million and decides she's going to Ireland. I know in the synopsis it says she ends up following a dog into the woods, and she ends up going to this land of Talam, which is a land of fairies, elves, and mermaids and such. And you also have, what's his name? I forget. Keegan. So you have Keegan, who is like the ruler of Talam, and that's how the book starts. And the beginning of the book gave like King Arthur, Lady of the Lake vibes. I'm not even kidding you. But yeah, Breen, like says, start off a little slow. It's more her struggling, but I will say why Nora Roberts has had like side characters that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. This is the first one where one of the main characters is part of the community, and that's Marco. And then you also have Sally, who is a drag queen and runs like a bar, and that the bar and Sally give me Cher from Burlesque vibes. So a lot happening. It is a little slow starting though, but now, like I said, she's in Ireland, and I have no doubt it's gonna really pick up from here. So we're just reading a couple chapters a night. Not sure if we're gonna finish it this month, especially since we got a late start on it. But we have started it, and if we finish it, I'll talk about it in my wrap up. If we don't, I'll just carry over into September, and we'll just continue reading it till it's done, and then start on the second one. And like I said, we're just working on them, and the third one comes out in November, and we'll start it at that point. So that's what I'm reading. I still have 7 books to read. I still have my 2 Throwback Thursdays, my 2 ABC author books, the 2 Dresden File books that I'm reading, and then I have the Tony Hillerman one that I added on. But there's still like 16 days in the month, a full 2 weeks, plus. And so I have no doubt I'm going to get those done. All of them are, other than the Dresden Files and one of the ABC author books, are really going to be quick reads. The Throwback Thursday ones, I'll probably read both of those in one day. I think the biggest one is going to be the Q author from an ABC Author Challenge, Sally Quinn. It's called Regrets Only. That one's probably going to take me the longest because it is denser and it's really big. And then the Dresden Files, I just really struggled with the last one, so I'm not sure how that one's going to go. But I have the next 2. I think it's Skin Games and Cold Days. I'm not sure what order those go in, but yeah, I still have those to read as well. So we'll see how that goes. Dresden Files let me down last month. So I'm not as excited to pick those up. And I'm not going to push myself too hard on those. So if I get them read, if I only get one read, whatever. If I get both of them read, great. But I'm not going to push myself too hard. So we'll see. But that is it for today. I know this video was really, really long because we talked about a lot. So if you stuck to the end, thank you. And go ahead and leave some kind of book emoji because life is hard, but at least we have books. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.